This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we're cooking on the Oklahoma Joe Tahoma, and we're going to try some pork burnt ends. Now, I like to cook things like pork, things that are really fatty in the beginning, so it kind of aids in the seasoning process. Now, of course, you get your burn off, and that is seasoning, but we like to build up a nice smoky taste inside the grill. And something else that helps with that is oil. Now, we did spray the inside with a little bit of canola oil, so that way in case we get splattering or something gets spilled over, that it'll be easier to clean. But we also want to get that oily taste from pork products such as a pork butt or some country pork ribs or even bacon, which is always one of the first things that I cook. What I did is I went ahead and I took some country ribs and I sliced them up, and then I seasoned them, and I'll show you a picture here of the seasoning. Now, that's not all the seasoning I'm going to do, but that's where we're going to start. I set the smoker on 350 and it is headed up there right now, so it's almost there, so we can put these on just about any time. Now, for temperature monitoring, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to use the temp spike, and then I'm also going to use the internal thermometer on the Tahoma, so that way we can kind of compare the two. What I like is that the temp spike gives me a graph and gives me all the information. Now, if you load the app for the Tahoma, you'll get all that information also from its app. But it's nice to be able to compare the two, and since I already own the temp spike, there's no reason not to use it. This is a really good tool, and I do have a link directly to the temp spike website where you can pick that up, and it's on sale almost all the time. And then they have new generation that they just released. Now, I probably won't be buying that one anytime in the near future, but it's available. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a glove on here, grab my temp spike. Now, I took two of these pieces and I did not cut them up. I would have cut this up into about 4 of these chunks, but I wanted to get a big piece so that way I could get the spike in there, and it has to get in there and get that line buried or it won't work correctly. And now I've got that in there, and that black line is just barely in there because this piece could not be any smaller or it would not work. Now, on this side, I have the wired probe here. I'm going to get this ready because it's going to have to go through there and get in there while it's hot. So I'll go ahead and open this up. Going to feed it through real quick. I'm going to grab this. Same thing. Going to kind of feed it in there. I want it in there, but I don't want to go too deep. Just like that, and be careful not to poke yourself. There we go. We should get a good reading from that. Now, I have this on a grill mat, like always, and because I'm trying to keep the smoker clean, I'm going to slide this up in there. That was close. Put that in there like that. And then I might move that probe a little bit because I don't like how close it is to that. Tighten this up just a little, and I'm leaving this tray underneath it. Now, I want to mention something about that tray real quick, is that I put a light coat of canola oil on there. Now, I don't eat canola oil anymore, but I put that light coat on there because that's just going to be catch pan for all the drippings that we're going to dispose of. And that light amount of canola oil will keep it from burning on there, and it should make it easier to clean up. Now, for my seasonings, I used my homemade all-purpose rub, which is called 3211. So it's just real simple. There's a video, but it's pepper, garlic, smoked paprika, and smoked kosher salt. And what I did with that is I sprinkled it on there, and then I kind of flipped it over and sprinkled it on again. And then granulated garlic. Go ahead and get that closed. Now, it's my thought that pork and garlic just go together really well. If you're not concerned about sugars, I would recommend that you add a little bit of brown sugar to that also. The brown sugar is a really good pairing with the pork. There's other sweetened items like you could consider honey or something like that. But for me, this is pretty much the direction that I like to head in. So now we're just going to go ahead and watch the temperature and let that cook. What we want to do is we want to get that really nice and toasty, so it's done at about 180, 185. Then we want to sauce it, and for today's sauce, I will be using regular barbecue sauce, but normally I would use a sugar-free or a low-sugar variety. Burnt ends just don't do well with sugar-free sauces. You kind of need that sugar so that way it'll caramelize and get a little crispy. I will kind of go light on it because, you know, like I said, I don't eat a lot of sugars. So we'll go from there and we'll just keep an eye on it and watch how it goes. And let's see where we're at right now. We're at, the smoker thinks we're at 323, so it's still kicking pretty good. And we'll keep an eye on it and watch that internal temperature. We've got our pork burnt ends ready to go. Our thermometer here on the Oklahoma Joe says 183. The thermometer on the temp spike says 175. So I'm kind of going to say it's right in the middle, and I'm happy if it's 180. I did sample a piece, and boy, is it good. But it's really just a piece of smoked pork. Look at that. See that close up? You got the nice color around the edges. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to transfer this all into a pan. Now I just grabbed a generic tinfoil pan here. I don't like to use regular pans in there. If I can, I'd like to avoid even the cookie sheets, but I did at this point. Now I'm going to go ahead and transfer this with the thermometer still in it. Go ahead and dump that out. Leave that there for a second. You do what you like. I like to use a national brand barbecue sauce, and this just happens to be my favorite national brand. I do have a couple of local brands that I really like. One of them is called Black Flag. I'll try to remember to leave a link for that. I buy a bottle or two at the trade shows every year, and then I just use it and kind of space it off. I'm not going to go too heavy on this because there is a lot of sugar, or I'm assuming high fructose corn syrup, and I don't want to overdo it on that. If you're on a diet or keto or anything, that's definitely not something you want a lot of. So I'm going to go ahead and lift these two pieces with the thermometers off to the side, and I'll just kind of roll those and get those covered lightly. Not going to worry too much about that. We're really just using these to monitor the temperature. And then you got the gloves, might as well use them. For you, I would probably go a little bit more barbecue sauce than this. You're well covered, and give maybe a little more on these big pieces with the thermometers in them. Now I just set the grill mat down on that cookie sheet, and I'm going to set this tray right back in here, and we're just going to let it keep smoking. I think we're probably looking at another 30 minutes for that all to caramelize. If you want it a little crispier, there's a couple of different tricks that you can do. One is to throw it underneath your broiler in your oven for just 2 or 3 minutes. Give it a stir, 2 or 3 more minutes, and it'll be nice and crispy. Another thing that you can do is use a brulee torch. I have one sitting over there, and when we come back, I might just do that for a sampling and just on a couple of pieces so that way we get it nice and crispy. But let's go ahead and let that roll. Well, it's been a little bit more than a half an hour and I've been checking on them and I think that they're ready. The temperature really hasn't changed much inside my pork burnt ends, but they look great and the caramelization looks perfect. Let's grab them out. Open that up and use the trusty old oven mitts since the Weber hot gloves got left outside. Okay. Go ahead and look at that. I'm going to show you that really close here. Boy, that looks good. Let's give it a try. Take another look. To see the color in there, it's got a lot of pink around the edges, which is a real good sign of a smoke ring. Now, I don't want to live and die by a smoke ring, but really that's a low oxygen environment when it was cooking. And that is what we get with a charcoal smoker. And it just gives it a wonderful taste. I want to give you a close-up of the pan before we go. And like I said, it just looks great. Nice little caramelized around the edge. Now, if you really want to take this to the next level, throw it in your broiler for a couple of minutes. Just give a little crispiness around the edge. I'm going to go set this in the oven and let it hold at 170 degrees for about 30 minutes until it's time to eat. But for you, if I were you and I just made this, I'd eat it now. Thanks for watching. If you saw anything you like in the video, there's affiliate links below. Those will help the channel, but they won't cost you anything extra. And the Oklahoma Joe Tahoma, at the time of filming this video, is only available in a few places. So I'll make sure I include a link there. When it's available at Amazon, I'll include that link also. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.